Part 89. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 908. Second update. So you came here to eavesdrop because you want the third young lady to go see the third young master? Yes, Sang Chin nodded. However, we have changed our decision temporarily. We should wait until the division commander is out of danger before we notify my sister-in-law. Otherwise, if she has an accident, it doesn't matter if the division commander blames us. The key is, the teacher will definitely feel guilty for the rest of his life. Well, this is the right thing to do. After a pause, Wang Zhongliang asked again, how do you two know the news about the third young master? It seems that neither the wife nor the old lady know yet. My grandfather. After a pause, Sang Chin said, my grandfather is the teacher's attending physician. He said that the teacher's willpower is very strong, but he still needs a little external stimulation. He inquired about the people around the teacher and felt that his sister-in-law's call would be most useful to him. He actually didn't know that I was the person left here by the teacher to protect his sister-in-law. He just knew that my sister-in-law and I were in the same school, so he asked me to do this. As for which elders of the Zhou family know about it, I'm not sure, but I am very sure that the Zhou family wants to hide it from my sister-in-law's family. Of course, they are doing it for my sister-in-law's own good, otherwise. Sighing, no more words were said. They are not so utilitarian, they are really worried about the third young master's health. After thinking about it, Wang Zhongliang said, the third young master's family is very worried about the third young master. Since your grandfather is the third young master's attending doctor, then, could you please inquire more about the situation of the third young master? I will also discuss it with the elders of the Zhou family. I'm afraid that it will be worse for the third young mistress if she continues like this. She is quite smart. I should have guessed that the third young master had an accident, otherwise. It's definitely not like I haven't contacted her for so long. And, before that, the third young master promised to inquire about the Jian family's affairs for the third young master, but suddenly there was no news. It is already very difficult for the third young master to endure until now and keep himself in such good condition. We will. Returning to the bedroom, Aunt Chin was sitting in the room waiting for Uncle Wang. Seeing him come in, she said with a worried look, what happened? Was it a burglar or something? It's okay. Wang Zhongliang patted his wife comfortingly, I just heard some noise and chased them out. It's Sang Chin and Zhao Mian. Go to sleep. What are they doing here so late? Aunt Chin frowned, isn't their mission to protect the third young lady at school? You are here at home. What do they mean? It's nothing, I'm just worried that the third young lady will come over to see me. There has been no news about the third young master. They are also worried about the third young lady, and usually go to school to avoid suspicion. It's not good for them to get too close to the third young mistress, right? Why do you think it doesn't make sense to me? Aunt Chin simply sat up straight, even if it's not easy to get close to the third young mistress at school, then why do you come here so late and say nothing? How about getting close? You. Wang Zhongliang looked at his wife helplessly, come here for a while. Why do you have to get to the bottom of it? I told you it's okay, so it must be okay. You are hiding something from me. Aunt Chin stared at her husband steadily, that's what you are like. When you feel guilty, you start to be unreasonable. Forget it, I won't ask, just tell me clearly that they are right. Third young lady doesn't mean any harm, right? Yes. Okay, that's okay. This is what you said. I believe it. Aunt Chin lay down and said, go to sleep, I have to get up early tomorrow. Wang Zhongliang. He said this as if he didn't want to sleep. If she hadn't kept asking questions, he would have gone to bed long ago. Okay. Early the next morning, Wan's doorbell rang quickly, and Wan Yuqian, who was about to enter the kitchen, hurried to open the door. Why are you here? Looking at Yao Xingqing, whose eyes were red and swollen and whose face was ugly, Wan Yuqiang's face also turned ugly. I have already made way for you, what else do you want? I don't want to do anything. Yao Xingqing smiled sadly, and the hand behind his back suddenly swung forward. What he held in his hand was a big kitchen knife. Ah, unable to dodge, Wan Yuqiang's arm was slashed deeply. In a hurry, she didn't care too much and grabbed the large kitchen knife that was slashed at her with bare hands. Thanks to Wan Yuqiang, who has endured hardship all these years, she is stronger than ordinary women. Although her palm was almost cut off, she kicked Yao Xingqing out and the knife fell into her hand. At this moment, Mr. Wan and Qian Yan had heard the sound and ran out. Seeing Wan Yuqiang covered in blood, Mr. Wan stepped forward and dragged his daughter behind him without thinking. Just when Yao Xingqing struggled to get up, when he saw Mr. Wan, he hesitated and rushed forward. At this moment, Qian Yan had already taken the rolling pin and ran out, rounded his arms and hit Yao Xingqing. 2 against 1, Yao Xingqing was quickly subdued. She was half paralyzed on the ground, squinting at her grandfather and grandson. Kill me if you can, but kill me if you can? Whoever doesn't takes action will be the grandson. You. Qian Yan wanted to continue greeting her bitterly, but Mr. Wan stopped her. Send your mother to the hospital first. Qian Yan, who was overwhelmed by anger, came to her senses and hurriedly dialed 120. Then she quickly supported Wan Yuqiang, who had lost too much blood and looked pale. Mom, hold on for a while, help me, the car will be here in a moment. I'm fine. Wan Yuqiang smiled at her daughter and looked at Yao Xingqing, who was lying on the ground. I've already given up my position to you, why do I have to do this? Give it to me. Yao Xingqing laughed maniacally. You did it on purpose and acted generous, but it was just to make Qianji Unming never forget you and always remember you, and then you did what I did with you. The third party between him. Let me tell you, your wishful thinking was wrong. Now he has gone to report to the Lord of Hell. Originally, I wanted you to be my companion on the road to hell. The three of us will continue to fight, you lose, and I win. Now it seems that he and I can only meet together. Wan Yuqiang, you lose, ha ha ha, no matter before or now, you have not got him, he will always be mine. You are also pitiful. Wan Yuqiang looked at her with pity. Do you know why I didn't separate from him before? It's not that I couldn't let him go, it was that I didn't want to drag my father down. Of course, there is also a reason, because I don't want my daughter to live in an unhealthy family. But in fact, my daughter has been living in a dysfunctional family, and my persistence for so many years was meaningless. Now, I am very glad to have left him. A woman's happiness is not pinned on men. First of all, you must have your own life, and then you can live better with others. Otherwise, you will become less and less important in the family, and eventually you will become a figure that is disliked by men. Trash-like stuff. Now, I have figured it out, but you haven't figured it out yet, so I can start a new life of my own, but you have to pay the price for your confusion. But, think about it, is it really worth ruining your life for such a man? What you say now is so nice. Why were you so shameless in wanting to be with Qianji Unming? Do you think I don't know? This time you understood that Qianji Unming didn't want to be with you, and that's why you agreed to divorce him. It's just. A deep bitterness flashed across Yao Xingqing's face. It's just that I thought too simply. I thought that he and I have been in love for so many years, and if he had the chance, he would be with me regardless. He. Wan Yuqiang looked at her doubtfully. When he can marry you, will he not marry you? Yeah, he doesn't want to get married to me and wants to be with you again. Do you think a man is a bitch? When you treat him as a treasure, he treats you as an idiot. When you treat him as an idiot, he treats you like an idiot. And I treat you as a treasure. Wan Yuqiang did not expect such a result. Thinking of what Yao Xingqing had just said, she pushed Qian Yan hard. Call 120 again, go to our house, your dad, your dad. Oh oh oh. In response, Qian Yan rushed to the phone. It's too late, he's already dead. Yao Xingqing smiled happily, do you think I will give him such a chance? Yao Xingqing, he said that you are the person who loves him the most in this world. It turns out that this is how you love him. Wan Yuqian shook her head speechlessly, you have been with him for so many years and we are considered husband and wife. How can you do this, do you have to be so ruthless? The key point is that I have divorced him and will never be with him again. You can actually kill him and kill me too. You are simply a psycho. I am crazy, and I was stimulated by you. If you hadn't fought for love back then, I would have become his wife long ago. The two of us are together, living a down-to-earth life, and we will definitely be very happy now. Everything I have was destroyed in your hands. The only thing I regret now is that I was too impatient and should have waited until you were alone before taking action. The ambulance and police car arrived at about the same time. Naturally, the Chu Xia family not far away heard such a loud noise. By the time Wang Zhongliang ran over to visit, Wan Yuqian had already been carried into the ambulance. Uncle Wan. Mr. Wan quickly interrupted him, Zhongliang, you came just in time. Tell Yulan Baohe and the others that we can't have dinner together at noon. I'll talk to you in detail later. Wan Yuqian was injured. There was another woman taken away by the police car. Chu Xia looked at Wang Zhongliang with wide eyes, which hospital did they go to? Did you ask? Go to the Beijing doctor. After Wang Zhongliang finished speaking, he added, Wan Yuqian looks seriously injured, but in fact, it is not a fatal injury. Don't worry, she can recover as before in a month at most. Same. That's good. Chu Xia hurried to the dinner table, eat, and go find Grandpa Wan as soon as you're done. What he needs most now is our company. To be continued. Read the latest chapter of First Marriage and Love to Changfeng Literature. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 909. 1 Update. Wan Yuqian's injuries were all traumatic. They looked serious but not fatal. She was pushed out of the operating room an hour later. She was given local anesthesia and was conscious when she was pushed out. Dad, Yan Yan. She looked at her eyes. Se looked at her father and daughter anxiously, how is Jianming doing? Mom, I didn't dare to leave you for the surgery just now. I don't know Dad's condition yet. When you enter the ward later, I will go and inquire about Dad's condition right away. Mr. Wan sighed secretly. At this time, his daughter is still thinking about his son-in-law, which means that she has true feelings for him. However, according to Yao Xingqing, he wanted to comfort his daughter a few words, but felt that all the comfort at the moment was pale and meaningless, so he looked at his granddaughter and said, Yan Yan, I am here. Go and find out about your father. Hearing what her father said, Wan Yuqian looked at her daughter anxiously. She was very dizzy now and had no strength to speak. Otherwise, she would have urged her daughter just now. Okay. In response, Qian Yan ran away quickly. Although her father had never paid much attention to her and had done so many things that made her despise him, he was her biological father after all. When she was standing guard outside the operating room, she felt it's almost a mess. Dad. After settling into the ward, Wan Yuqian looked at Mr. Wan weakly, with a look of begging, if it turns out that the injury is serious, can you trouble Mr. Qi? Okay, I'm going to call Qi Yinzi now. Mr. Wan patted his daughter gently, you can stay here with peace of mind. Dad will do his best whatever he can. Wan Yuqian nodded gratefully. I felt drowsy for a moment, if I hadn't been thinking about Jianming's situation. She couldn't hold it any longer. Looking at his daughter who was almost asleep, Mr. Wan felt a dull pain in his heart. In fact, his daughter is very affectionate, and he really wronged her before. The nurse happened to come in and saw Wanyukian, who was already sleeping. She breathed a sigh of relief. I have finally fallen asleep. Dr. Chin said that he has never seen a patient who can stand up like this. He asked me to come over and take a look. If it doesn't work, I will force him to give up. The patient rests. Mr. Wan smiled gently at the little nurse. Nurse Xiao Li, please look after her more. I'm going to do some errands and I'll be back in a moment. Okay, you can go ahead and do your work. The little nurse smiled sweetly at the old man. This matter is within the scope of my responsibilities. I will definitely do it even if you don't tell me. When the call was made to Mr. Chi's home, no one answered. He paused for 2 minutes and called again, but there was still no one. Mr. Wan sighed. When he turned his head, he saw his granddaughter squatting in the corner outside the operator's room, huddled in a ball. Yan Yan. Mr. Wan walked over and patted Jian Yan on the shoulder. The other person raised his head, his face full of tears. Grandpa. Then he quickly stood up and threw himself into the old man's arms, choking up. My dad, my dad, my dad. He repeated it several times. She didn't even have the courage to tell what happened next. How could Mr. Wan not know what the situation was like now, so he patted his granddaughter on the back. He murmured, if I had known it, I wouldn't have been in a hurry to get your mother back. If I had known it, I really wouldn't have been in a hurry to get your mother back. No. I don't blame Grandpa. She sniffed and tried to calm herself down. Jian Yan said, if I don't let my mother come back early, the final result may be that I lose my mother and my father is with that woman. In comparison, I would rather have this result. Grandpa, am I quite unfilial? My dad, just after my dad passed away, I would say something like this. If he heard it, he would definitely be very chilled, right? No, he will think you are a sensible child. In fact. After a pause, Mr. Wan said, according to Yao Xingqing, your father has realized his mistakes after divorcing your mother. Therefore, when he hears what you are saying now, not only will he not feel cold, but he will also feel very relieved when he leaves. In the future, he will not be disappointed if you will accompany your mother. I don't understand how Yao Xingqing could be so cruel to my dad. She directly poisoned my dad. Biting her lip and pausing for a while, Jian Yan said, I called the police, and they said that they had already. She notified Grandpa and told me not to go there yet, saying that she was afraid that I wouldn't be able to bear it, saying that, she said that my dad died of bleeding on the floor of the room. How much hatred does this require? She wasn't. Did my dad's first love always love my dad? Looking at her current behavior, she is not a lover, she is clearly an enemy with a blood feud. Her whole life has been spent on your dad. When your mom doesn't divorce your dad, she still has expectations. Sooner or later, your dad will divorce your mom and marry her. I believe that your father has always promised her this. However, when all this became a foregone conclusion, she found that what she originally expected was not what she expected. For her, being with your dad is everything to her. If it is shattered, it is the end of her life. The spiritual pillar that supports her to move forward is gone, and her whole person will naturally collapse. A person can do anything when she has a mental breakdown. Moreover, when she killed your father, she did not intend to live alone. She just wanted to keep your mother as a companion. Jian Yan looked indignant. What does it have to do with my mom? My mom is my dad's wife. She ruined my mom's happiness, but she wants to blame my mom. It's so unreasonable. No wonder my dad suddenly regretted it. Yes, she must have revealed her true colors, and my dad realized that he had been deceived by her all along, so he decided not to want her. After hesitating for a moment, Mr. Wan still said, Yan Yan, you have to know that no matter what, it's your father's fault. He ended up in this situation because the punishment was too heavy. But people are like this. Whatever the reason, there must be some result. If he hadn't dragged Yao Xingqing to wait for him all his life, hadn't made a promise to the other party, and suddenly changed his face, Yao Xingqing would never have made such a move. In other words, if this matter had happened 15 years ago, it would not have reached this point today. For Yao Xingqing, the best time in his life has been exhausted. If he and your father were separated like this, he would feel like this for the rest of his life. It's all wasted. For my grandpa, being in his 40s is still very young. However, for a woman who has just reached her 40s and is not married, being in her 40s is a very scary age. She was afraid of facing old age and loneliness alone, afraid of seeing the other person abandon her and live a happy life of her own, so she would rather destroy everyone together. She must have made a mistake in making such a move, but the most wrong thing was your father. He gave others hope, wasted their time, and finally wanted to be irresponsible. How is that possible? Qianyan admitted that what her grandfather said was true. If any man dared to hold her back for 20 years, she would definitely kill him to vent her hatred. As for whether she would kill the woman who had a relationship with that man, she did not have that experience herself and did not dare to draw any conclusions. With a heavy sigh, Qianyan looked at Mr. Wan, but if Mom knew that Dad was gone like this, she would definitely not be able to accept it. When she and Dad divorced, she was actually extremely disappointed. Now she knows that Dad was still worried about her. He was killed just because he was looking at her, so she will definitely blame herself very much. We can only rely on our relatives to persuade her. This kind of thing happens when it happens. You can't hide it. When your mother asks you later, just tell her the truth. Otherwise, she will dig into the horns and get deeper. Okay, Qianyan agreed. She has lived with her mother for so many years, so she certainly understands her character. If she doesn't have the chance to say goodbye to her father, it's probably possible that she will live with guilt and be unable to get out of it. She was very sad to lose her father, but her father had cared less about her since she was a child, so her feelings for her father were at most 1/10 of her feelings for her mother. Therefore, no matter what, she would not let her mother ruin her life for her father. Even though it was her biological father, she had to say it fairly, it was not worth doing that for that man. Grandpa, who did you call just now? Qianyan asked after adjusting her mood. I'm calling your grandpa Qi. Your mother asked me to call you. I'm afraid your dad is seriously injured, so I hope Grandpa Qi can take action. Sighing, Mr. Wan took his granddaughter back to the ward. No one answered just now. I still have to call you. I want to fight later, so I don't have to fight anymore. When the grandfather and grandson walked halfway, they saw a large group of people coming. Uncle Wan, how's it going? Zhao Yulan was the first to run up. Lin Baohe, Mr. Qi, Mrs. Qi, Aunt Yin, and Chu Xia, who followed behind, also looked worried. No wonder the call to Mr. Qi couldn't get through. It turns out that's what happened. Looking at the old man with a tense face, Mr. Wan felt warm in his heart. He smiled at the other man before answering Zhao Yulan's question. Jade Qiang's surgery was completed and it was quite successful, and she is probably still sleeping now. You've lost so much blood, how can you not sleep? Mr. Qi snorted coldly. Where is the ward? Hurry up and lead the way. What's wrong with standing on the street and grinning? This old man obviously wanted to check on his daughter's injury, but he had to be so impatient. Alas, Mr. Wan, who already knew Mr. Qi very well, looked at the arrogant old man helplessly, not as before. She was still tit for tat with him, but responded with a smile and took the lead to walk to the ward. Naturally, Wan Yuqian couldn't wake up at this moment, so Mr. Qi stepped forward and grabbed her wrist pulse to test. After a while, he said in the expectant eyes of everyone, the foundation is pretty good. Don't worry, it will take at least half a month. You can move freely. Grandpa Qi, my mother won't have any sequelae like this, right? Qian Yan asked with a worried look. It's just like the pain in the arms and hands when it's cloudy and rainy. Will it leave the root cause of this disease? Unfinished, to be continued. Read the latest chapter of First Marriage and Love to Changfeng Literature. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 910. 1 Update. Mr. Qi glanced at Qian Yan as if she were an idiot and said, if the root causes of the disease you mentioned are left, can I say that she has regained her freedom of movement? Yes, yes. Mr. Wang quickly agreed, your Grandpa Qi's medical skills are so good. With his help, your mother will be more flexible than before when she recovers. There is no chance of leaving the root of the disease. Will she die if I'm not exaggerating? Mr. Qi glared at Mr. Wang. I can at most make her recover as before. How can I make her more flexible than before? Do you think I'm a god? If you really think so, I'm still don't worry about it, lest you complain when the time comes. I was wrong, I was wrong. Mr. Wan apologized with a smile, don't be the same as me. There are so many things going on at home, and I'm a little confused. Please be more considerate. Mr. Qi, who originally wanted to say a few words, heard what Mr. Wan said, so he glared at him and turned around and walked out. Mr. Wan grabbed him anxiously, Brother Qi. Mr. Qi looked at him with disgust, what are you shouting for? I'll go find Qin Hung to discuss it. I'll rashly place an order for his patient. Do you think it's appropriate? Oh. Mr. Wan nodded repeatedly, please, please. I think I have to give you some medicine to replenish your brain. Mr. Qi snorted coldly, waved his hands and walked out of the ward. MRSG quickly apologized on his brother's behalf, Brother Wan, don't be like Yanji, he is just a child. Sex, it hasn't been overturned yet. You said what happened to you and Sister Yin, what is he worrying about? Isn't that right? Mr. Wan has a black hair, he is really a brother and sister. My sister said this softly, and the subtext was that she was complaining about his mistreatment of Sister Yin. Hey, he doesn't want to delay it if he can, but isn't the situation not allowing it now? Chu Xia knew what Mr. Wan was feeling and could understand his dilemma. Speaking of it, Mr. Wan was not indecisive. The reason why he was like this time was, to put it bluntly, because he was facing his relatives, leaving him unable to decide. It was also because of this that she wanted sister-in-law Yin to accompany her, so that she would have a suitable reason to stay and also be able to meet Mr. Wan often. As for when the two of them will finally get together, that's not something she can control. As a junior, she just needs to create opportunities for the elders. The most embarrassing person is undoubtedly Mrs. Yin. She thanked the Qi brothers and sisters for protecting her, and felt sorry for Mr. Wan's dilemma. If it is possible, she really wishes she could hide far away, but the problem is, she has no place to hide now. The most important thing is to avoid it. She is really reluctant to give up, otherwise, as long as she brings it up, Mr. Wan will definitely help her make arrangements. This idea has been lingering in her mind. It's not that it didn't make her hesitate, but every time the words came to her lips, she gave up. At this age, you won't say anything like marrying someone who is not yours. At 50 years old, it is almost impossible to meet such a compatible partner again. From now on, I will be alone. What's the point of the rest of my life? It's better to let nature take its course and let the other person see your affection and determination. Even if you can never really be together, you will still be happy if you can see each other every day. She believed that with Mr. Wan's character, he wouldn't be. Suddenly a face younger than her flashed in her mind, and she was not sure what she was thinking. Chusia had been paying attention to sister-in-law Yin's expression. When she saw her gloomy expression, she nudged her side and whispered, "Come with me to the bathroom, okay?" The two of them walked out of the ward together. "Sister-in-law Yin, can you stay with me during this time?" After leaving the door, Chusia said her thoughts straight to the point, "My parents and I have discussed it and think this is the way you feel most comfortable." Method. We are a family anyway, so you and I will not hide anything. With the current situation, you will feel that your stay is getting more and more embarrassing, so why not make a transition first, okay? This is equivalent to helping the Zhou family. Chusia is Wan Lao's god-granddaughter. No matter what happens in the future, she has a way out. After understanding all this, she looked at Chusia gratefully, "Thank you. Why are you being polite to me? After all, you are half my teacher, so I should consider you." Chusia smiled and took her arm and walked forward. "You don't blame Grandpa Wan, do you?" "How can I blame him?" sister-in-law Yin sighed. "He is a father. At this time, it is impossible for him to just act on his own ideas regardless of what he thinks. If he is really such a selfish person, I probably won't either. It's so difficult now. To be honest, when I was asked to work for him, I was very reluctant. I felt that serving others was inferior, so at the beginning, I was a little passive and exhausted. I felt that if he was dissatisfied with me and wanted to resign me, then I could ask to work in a factory or any other place. At that time, I felt that as long as I didn't wait on others, I could do anything. Of course he saw what I was thinking, so he specifically talked to me and told me about his experience. He also said that if he was not in poor health, he would not agree to the organization sending someone to take care of him. He made it clear to me that if I found it very painful to stay at his place, he would report it to the organization and help me find a better job. That's how I am. Originally, I was full of complaints and wanted to leave. But after he said this, I felt embarrassed when I looked at his limping leg. Then I said that I would leave when his leg was completely healed and he could take care of himself. But later I found that staying and working next to him was a very happy thing. He never yells or bosses me around, and he never orders me to do anything within his power. In his free time, he either plays the piano, reads books, or takes care of flowers and plants. Then, when he really got better, I didn't ask to leave. Instead, he took the initiative to find me and ask me what kind of job I wanted. He could apply for it on my behalf. Thinking that after I left, he would be all alone, I suddenly couldn't bear to let him go. Then I told him that I was very happy doing this job and that I would keep doing it as long as he was willing. Then, I stayed with him. The longer I got along with him, the more I felt that he was a very charming person. As you know, in my case, I have a little bit of a literatized aloofness, so my requirements for marriage naturally fall into place. There. If I really can't get together with him, this will probably be the case for the rest of my life. In fact, it's not that I haven't thought about leaving, but as long as I think about leaving, I will be alone from now on, and I will be particularly scared. No matter how hard or tired a person is when he is young, he is not afraid of the desolation of his later life when he is old. It is the most tragic thing in the world. You may not feel too deeply when I say this. After all, at your age, you have never experienced anything like this, but I have seen that there used to be an old couple living on the second floor of our house. They had no children. The man left in his 60s, leaving the woman behind. Live alone. When she was in her 70s, the woman would move a small stool to sit at the door and watch people come and go. In winter, her face would turn red from the cold and she would not be willing to enter the house. I didn't understand her feelings at that time. Now, at this age and without children myself, I can really understand that feeling, which is the fear of being alone in a whole room. Even if my body suffers a little, I am still willing to watch the popularity of people coming and going. It seems that only in this way can I feel that I am a living person. Aunt Yin. Chu Xia grabbed her hand and squeezed it hard. You don't have to worry about this. No matter where you and Uncle Wan end up, you can always live with us as long as you want. Don't think that I am trying to comfort you by saying this. I really do what I say. As long as I discuss it with Zhou Mikang, he will never refute such reasonable requests from me. Of course I believe you are sincere. Sister-in-law Yin took a long breath. Okay, let's not think about these messy things for now. I have already decided to let things take their course and wait, no matter whether we can get together in the future or not. I will not regret it, at least, I have tried hard and fought for it. Sister-in-law Yin, I particularly like your personality. What I hate the most is that you will give up immediately when you encounter some emotional setbacks, as if giving up will help others and make you look noble. Well, if you want to be together, both parties must work together. Even if you encounter difficulties, as long as you don't give up, there is always hope. Do you think this is the truth? Yes, sister-in-law Yin nodded, and couldn't help but sigh. For now, this is all we can do, but... After a pause, she continued, if he really meets someone more suitable, even if I persist, it's pointless. Impossible. Chu Xia's voice suddenly paused. She also thought of the woman she met that day. Due to her status as a junior, she was embarrassed to ask Grandpa Wan, but intuitively, she believed that the relationship between that woman and Grandpa Wan was it shouldn't be what everyone suspected, but she still insisted on her original idea. There should be some reason between the woman and Grandpa Wan that they didn't know. Remember, sister-in-law Yin smiled bitterly, I know I shouldn't doubt him, but the provocation in that woman's eyes when she saw me was undisguised. I met her again yesterday, even better than when I met her with you that day. She shook her head and said nothing more, but Chu Xia clearly knew what she wanted to express, and sighed secretly, not knowing how to persuade her. That's good. To be continued. Read the latest chapter of First Marriage and Love to Changfeng Literature. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 911. Second update arrived. Chu Xia and Sister Yin were silent when they noticed two familiar people walking towards them, Sang Qin, Zhao Miyan. Chu Xia looked at the two of them doubtfully, why are you here? When they saw Chu Xia, Sang Qin and Zhao Miyan felt thumping in their hearts. Fortunately, Sang Qin reacted quickly and said quickly, Sister-in-law, he. Her words were so vague that Chu Xia understood and couldn't help laughing. There is no danger when I come here, and you don't need to follow me everywhere, right? Besides, when I come out, my family will be with me and Uncle Wan will be by my side, so nothing will happen. If Zhou Mikang gives you trouble, I will be here, so don't worry. Sister-in-law, we want to take this opportunity to go out for a walk. It's boring to stay in school all the time. It feels so good to come out for some fresh air. Sang Qin said while taking Zhao Miyan's elbow. Zhao Miyan was in a daze. He nodded quickly and agreed, yes, that's what we had in mind. I'm so happy to be able to come with my sister-in-law. Are you happy to come to the hospital to get some fresh air? There was no doubt about the Black Line in early summer. After all, there were no entertainment projects in this era. The two of them were secretly responsible for her safety, which was indeed boring and panicking at ordinary times. Then you go out for a walk, don't waste your time in the hospital. Chu Xia smiled at the two of them and added, a large group of us are here, don't worry, they will take good care of me. Sister-in-law, let's go then. Sister-in-law, see you in the afternoon. Chu Xia waved to the two of them, okay, see you in the afternoon. Mr. Xiao Zhou really didn't say anything to you. After the two of them walked away, sister-in-law Yin couldn't help but sigh, I have been so old in my life, and I have never seen a man care so much for his wife. It's a pity. You care so much and say that if you don't believe it, you won't believe it. Chu Xia curled her lips. Anyway, when he comes back, I will settle the score with him. Even if he has a mission and it is not convenient to disclose it, please report it to the Ping An head office. After thinking about it, sister-in-law Yin said, have you asked your mother-in-law about them? I asked indirectly. Chu Xia sighed. Anyway, my feeling is that my mother-in-law and old lady don't know either. As for my father-in-law, I can't ask him. But I believe that Zhou Mikang will be fine, or the mission he is performing is too private. He couldn't leave any trace, or he was injured and didn't want his family to know. Next to. I really can't think of the reason, but no matter which one it is, I believe it will not endanger his life. Otherwise, my father-in-law and my husband would not be able to hide it from the family. It turns out that you have thought of it a long time ago. Sister-in-law Yin looked at Chu Xia with admiration. I have always known that you are very smart and wise, but now it seems that I still underestimate you. Aunt Yin. Chu Xia looked at the other party speechlessly. She understands what's going on so well. How could I not have thought of it? How could I still be smart and smart like this? How stupid must I be in your eyes? That's why you think so, because you are smart. Don't forget, you grew up in an ordinary family. You have never been exposed to this circle, and you have been married for less than a year. As a child of an ordinary family, do you think how many people can think this far about this matter? Chu Xia stroked her forehead with a speechless expression. As long as you are not stupid, you will know if you think about it. Where are my father-in-law and old father-in-law's positions? If anything goes wrong with Zhou Mikang, they will be notified immediately. If it's a private mission, it's still possible to keep the news from your family. But if it's an injury, unless my father-in-law and my husband's father-in-law specifically tell me, we are not allowed to notify my family. Otherwise, it would be impossible to hide it. That's probably. He hesitated. Sister-in-law Yin said, maybe my ideas are too limited. I just think that your mother-in-law and old woman don't know, so you shouldn't think this way. To be honest, I didn't think about this aspect myself. It was Wan Lao who told me about it and I finally understood it. I didn't expect that you thought more clearly than me. Hey, don't say that I am your half in the future. I am a teacher, so ashamed. When Mrs. Yin said this, Chu Xia understood why she was so surprised. But after thinking about it deeply, she felt that there was nothing wrong with Mrs. Yin's thinking. In this era, people's knowledge was extremely lacking. In the words of later generations, they were honestly stupid. The more ordinary children are, the more likely they are to have this tendency. They also believe in what others say and will never analyze or ponder it in a roundabout way. In future generations, this kind of employee will be the least popular, but in this era, it seems that this kind of person is liked by everyone. It means that you are down to earth and not slippery. People today definitely have a mentality of admiration for leaders. But in future generations, what everyone is thinking is that you are lucky to be in that position. I listen to you now because I have no choice but to do so. For this reason, one day, what will happen to me? It was not until more than 10 years later that the channels for information became more widespread and people's spiritual lives became much richer, and many people's personalities gradually changed. The more she thought about it, the more Chu Xia felt that Sister Yin's previous view of her was not contempt, but an approval of her parents, so she smiled and said, of course you are still my teacher, I just care about this matter only when you think about it more and for a longer time can you think clearly. No matter what, you surprised me. Sister-in-law Yin smiled, very few people dare to doubt my father-in-law and old father-in-law. I am impressed by your courage. He. Chu Xia smiled coquettishly. She couldn't say that she didn't belong to this era. Her thinking was different from this era, so she could only admit that she was bold. Zhou Hanliang, staring at the person at the corner in front of him, Chu Xia yelled and chased after him. Zhou Hanliang was on the mission with Zhou Mikang, and he must know the news about Zhou Mikang. Zhou Hanliang, stop. Zhou Hanliang. If anything happens to me, let's see how you explain it to Zhou Mikang. Zhou Hanliang, who had already arrived downstairs, heard the thumping footsteps above and was so frightened that he hurried up to meet him. He didn't really see the other person just now, but when the other party shouted for the first time, he instinctively wanted to run away, but ignored it. This is also a master who doesn't care. Alas, it's really not like a family doesn't come into the same house. Sister-in-law. Zhou Hanliang greeted Chu Xia face to face with a shy smile. What a coincidence. I didn't expect to meet you here. It sounded like you were shouting to me. I didn't expect it to be. Stop pretending, Chu Xia glared at him angrily. You just wanted to run away when you saw me, right? If I didn't chase you down with all my life, you would definitely run away. Sister-in-law, how could I do that? If I saw my sister-in-law, I would definitely go up and say hello as soon as possible. I haven't seen her for a long time, how could I just run away when I see her? I was in a hurry to go down and come over to see my comrades. The leader asked me to go back quickly. I was in a hurry and didn't look at anyone while walking. If I hadn't heard the shouts that sounded familiar to me, I would have left directly. Keep pretending, Chu Xia glared at him, keep pretending. Let's see how long you can pretend. No. I'm not pretending. Zhou Hanliang sneered, sister-in-law, why don't you trust people? You don't know how honest I am, right? I can't pretend to be with you. If I let you, if the boss finds out, why don't you kill me? What's wrong with Zhou Mikang? Chu Xia asked directly. Sister-in-law Yin, who was standing in the back, was stroking her forehead secretly. What a coincidence. If they hadn't chatted with her, the two of them wouldn't have wandered here, and naturally they wouldn't have met Zhou Hanliang. Suddenly thinking of Sang Qin and Zhao Mian she had met before, her heart started to rise unconsciously. Apparently, Chu Xia also thought of this, and her expression suddenly turned ugly. Zhou Mikang was injured, right? I just met, it's time for Sang Qin and Zhao Mian, don't try to lie to me. Zhou Hanliang was weighing how to cover up his lie, and now he didn't know what to say. Sang Qin and Zhao Mian were arranged by the boss to protect his sister-in-law. These two people are considered retainers of the Zhou family. When they appeared here, he also appeared. Here, with the intelligence of the other party, he can guess almost exactly as long as he associates it. However, if he told the other person the truth, he unconsciously glanced at the other person's bulging belly, and his whole body became even worse. He was in a dilemma both on the left and on the right. What should he do? Originally, I didn't dare to tell her because I was afraid that she wouldn't be able to bear it. This. You don't have to be afraid, I can stand it. Chu Xia could roughly guess the reason for his embarrassment and said, in my opinion, as long as he lives, there is nothing he cannot accept. If you don't tell me, I will just think wildly, or my body will be affected even more. I ran a little fast to chase you just now, and now. She reached out and covered her abdomen. I feel really uncomfortable. How do you feel? Sister-in-law Yin looked at her in panic. Then don't stand here. If you have anything to say, let's go up and find a place to sit and talk. She looked at Zhou Hanliang again. I've already met you, so have you. Don't run away, otherwise something will really happen. You know her character, right? I will definitely not run, I will never run. Zhou Hanliang raised his hands and swore, let's go up. I know there is a deck chair next to it. Let's sit down and talk. I promise, I will tell the truth. No, you take me directly to Zhou Mikang's place. Chu Xia looked at him steadily. I've confirmed that he was transferred here, otherwise, you can't all come here, no matter how much you say, it's meaningless. Why not let me see him with my own eyes? I believe he should be willing to see me. Zhou Hanliang was in such a dilemma. He secretly complained in his heart, how could he be so stupid, how could he just let his aunt run into him? To be continued. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 912. The third update is here. Stop thinking about it, take me there quickly. Chu Xia glared dissatisfied at Zhou Hanliang, who was still hesitating and struggling. Do you think it's still possible to lie to me at this time? Zhou Hanliang finally made up his mind. Okay, I will take you there. In the high-level cotter ward on the third floor, Zhou Mikang was lying quietly on the bed, as if he was asleep. After not seeing him for several months, he was obviously darker and thinner. After standing on the teacher's bed in silence for a long time, Chu Xia turned around and looked at sister-in-law Yin calmly. Auntie, please go and say hello to my mother, so that she won't see me anxious. Okay, sister-in-law Yin responded and quickly withdrew. Chu Xia turned to look at Zhou Hanliang. Tell me. One night in the middle of the night, we had an encounter with the enemy. When we were seeing a solid victory, the enemy began to run away. The 2nd Regiment leader led the team to pursue them, but fell into the enemy's trap. The division commander himself led a top company to the rescue, and the 2nd Regiment successfully escaped. However, the division commander fainted when he returned to the camp. It was not until he was sent to the hospital that he discovered that the division commander had been shot twice, one in the thigh. The other shot was in the chest. After the operation, the division commander had been in a coma. The conditions in the field hospital were difficult, so the leaders sent a helicopter to fetch the Beijing doctor. Director Sun of the Beijing doctor was an expert in this regard. The teacher arrived the day before yesterday. Director Sun had already diagnosed and treated him. He said that the teacher's coma was due to long-distance strenuous exercise after the injury, which had damaged his roots. He only needed to nurse him back to health for a few days. Will wake up. According to Director Sun's instructions, it will take 3 more days at most. The teacher will definitely be able to wake up. After a pause, Zhou Hanliang said. Our whole group is back to rest. I just arrived in Sitia the day before yesterday. I have settled in. I came here today to have a look. Unexpectedly, my sister-in-law bumped into me. Chu Xia looked at him steadily. Are you sure you didn't lie to me, right? Yes, Zhou Hanliang nodded. What I said is the truth at this time. I can't hide it from you. I didn't tell you originally because I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to bear it. Now it seems that everyone is worrying too much. Yes, you underestimate me. Chu Xia held Zhou Mikang's hand and gently rubbed his fingertips. Originally, I was very angry that he didn't give me any information for so long. Even if it's hurt. You should also send me a peace letter. Now it seems that I have wronged him, so let's forget about it. He had been injured so many times before. Everything is fine, and nothing will happen this time. Yes. Master, I'm sure everything will be fine. I used to be able to come back safely without worries. Now that I have worries, things will definitely be better many times faster than usual. When on a mission, the teacher always carried his sister-in-law's photo with him. When he returned to the camp, the teacher was still awake. His first reaction was to take out his sister-in-law's photo and look at it. Then he fainted. The doctor who performed the surgery also said that the division commander's perseverance was so strong that no matter how strong a soldier was, he would never be able to survive such a serious injury and retreat so quickly over a long distance, but he did it. When I heard what the doctor said at that time, I felt that the most fundamental reason for the teacher to survive was the desire to see his sister-in-law and his nephews and nieces. The teacher told me that no matter what time, he would keep his own life. He said that he had promised his sister-in-law, so he would never break his promise. I remember that I asked him at that time, What if we encountered a desperate situation? The teacher said that there would be no desperate situation, because he promised his sister-in-law, there would be no desperate situation. Yes, he promised me, so even if there is no news about him, I have always believed that nothing will happen to him. From the time I know him, he has never broken his promise. Moreover, with his character, he will never let himself break his promise, so I don't find it strange at all that he can do it. Sniffing, Chu Xia bit the fingertips of the teacher's tube. He bit, I believe that now that I am by his side, he must also feel it, but he has not recovered yet and has not the strength to talk to me yet. Early summer. Zhou Jingping, who pushed the door in, looked at his daughter-in-law who was sitting by the bed, holding the teacher's tube and biting her fingers one by one. His expression immediately became nervous. How, do you know? He glanced at it as he spoke. One glance at Zhou Hanliang made Hanliang hang his head in guilt. Dad. Chu Xia stood up and looked at each other seriously. Do you think I'm a family member? Of course, Zhou Jingping quickly explained. I don't tell you not because I don't believe you, but because I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it. Your current body doesn't allow for any mistakes, otherwise Xiaomi will blame herself for the rest of her life. Just in case you get the hint, even your grandma and your mother don't know about Xiaomi's injury. Of course, your eldest brother, second uncle, and third uncle don't know either. So, you must not misunderstand and treat you as a family. If you really say that, then they are not members of the Zhou family, right? As he said that, he couldn't help but glare at Zhou Hanliang again. Zhou Hanliang's grievance was hard to explain. It was indeed him who leaked the news, even though he didn't mean it. Dad, I don't blame Zhou Hanliang. I happened to see him when Sister Yin and I were out for a walk. I threatened him to bring me here. Dad also knows that with my current situation, he dare not be threatened by me. Sister-in-law is so loyal. Han Liang Tongzi gave someone a thumbs up in his heart. Although he didn't mind being blamed by Zhou Jingping, of course it would be best if there was no misunderstanding. What did you come to the hospital for? Zhou Jingping frowned. Who is feeling uncomfortable or? Chu Xia hurriedly said, Dad, I'm fine. My parents, Grandma and Grandpa are also fine. Grandpa Wan's daughter is injured. Let's come over and take a look. Wan Yuqian, Zhou Jingping looked confused. Don't she have little contact with Uncle Wan? What happened? After hesitating for a moment, Chu Xia said, this matter is quite convoluted. Does Dad have time to listen to it now? She would not open her mouth to comment on her father-in-law's position. If someone had something urgent to do and was upset, it would be pointless to interrupt her. If I have time, I'll be here to take care of Xiaomi these days. Sighing, Zhou Jingping said, I don't worry about others coming. Besides, I, as a father, should stay here without notifying the rest of the family. Yes, you tell me. Didn't I worship Mr. Qi as my teacher before? Chu Xia went through the whole story, which made Zhou Jingping sigh. The things in this world are really true. You can hear them with your own ears and see them with your own eyes. It may not be true. Who would have thought of such a situation before? After a pause, he frowned. However, the Qian family will not let it go like this. Fortunately, we encountered it today. I have to hurry up and talk to the boss. Let's report it, arrange for someone to protect Wan Lao, and wait until the matter comes to an end. Chu Xia was speechless. Why should the Qian family blame Grandpa Wan? It was clearly Qian Jianming who did something that was sorry for Aunt Wan, and wanted to give up after all, which led to the man named Yao Xingqing to kill him. Moreover, because of him, Aunt Wan almost died. It would be great if Grandpa Wan didn't go to them to settle the score. Do they still have the nerve to come to Grandpa Wan? If they were reasonable, Wan Yuqian wouldn't have to pretend for so many years. Alas! With a heavy sigh, Zhou Jingping stood up and said, Xia, you stay here first, I will go and solve this matter. Okay, Chusia nodded. Don't worry, Dad, I will take good care of Jo Mikang. Also, I am in very good health and can always be here. That won't work. Zhou Jingping, who had already reached the door, paused. Your task now is to have a good rest and keep yourself and your baby healthy. You will stay here this morning and go home at noon. You can come over again tomorrow morning. This will be the arrangement from now on. Come here all morning and have a good rest at home during the rest of the time. It is best not to go to the school. After the baby is born, you can go to class peacefully. This was not the time to argue with my father-in-law, so Chu Xia said, Dad, let's go do some work first. We'll talk about the details later. Zhou Jingping shook his head helplessly. What his daughter-in-law meant was that he disagreed with his decision. Alas, this child is good in every aspect, but he is as stubborn as his own son. The twins are already so old, and they are still like this. Being disobedient is really a headache. Thinking like this, he felt that his daughter-in-law's psychological endurance was stronger than his. He had only been with his daughter-in-law for a while, but she got into trouble. His daughter-in-law stayed for a month every time she came over, so he didn't know. She watched how her daughter-in-law went to school in a hurry every day. As a soldier, he is not pampered with children. But isn't the daughter-in-law in poor health? It seems that he needs to discuss countermeasures with his old man and his wife, but he can't just let the child's temper fall. If anything happens, it will be too late to regret it. Watching Zhou Jingping walk away, Zhou Hanliang turned back and whispered, the chief will definitely find a way to let you stay at home. I guessed it. Chu Xia nodded. It's normal and reasonable for him to think so. However, it depends on the personality of the person. If you want me to stay at home every day, I will probably drive myself crazy. Anyway, I now have regular prenatal check UPS every month, and the doctor also said that my situation is very good, so I might as well live a fulfilling life. I am in a good mood, and so are the babies. In fact, it's good for me and the baby. What my sister-in-law said makes sense. Zhou Hanliang glanced at Zhou Mikang, who was lying on the bed. Sir, you have to wake up quickly, otherwise, my sister-in-law will not be able to cope with the bombardment from the elders. To be continued. Read the latest chapter of First Marriage and Love to Changfeng Literature. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 913. One update. Yes, Zhou Mikang, you have to wake up quickly and coordinate the current affairs. The elders must be in a very difficult position now. They are worried about my health. They want to persuade me, but they are afraid of causing my disgust and affecting my body. If they don't persuade me, they are worried about my health. If they have an accident, if they always live in this kind of worry, their bodies will not be able to bear it. So as a junior, I can only compromise, but then I feel uncomfortable. If I don't feel comfortable, your son and daughter will feel uncomfortable. If you feel sorry for us, you should wake up quickly. Chu Xia was talking while staring at Zhou Mikang's fingers. Generally speaking, in movies and TV shows, as long as the heroine confesses her love, the hero will definitely move her fingers first, and then wake up. Unfortunately, after she stared for a long time, Master Tong's fingers still didn't move. Helpless, Chu Xia had no choice but to grab his hand and continue to rub it. I will invigorate your blood and disperse the stasis. Once the qi and blood flow smoothly, you will naturally wake up. Well, yes, it's the right thing to do. The old doctor who pushed in the door saw Chu Xia's actions and nodded approvingly. Kneading him often like this is good for him, and his feet and legs are also good. You can rub it like this. Jo Hanliang quickly stood at the foot of the bed and helped his teacher Tongzu rub his legs and calves. Stepping forward to check Jo Mikang's condition, Director Sun's smile deepened. Very good, the patient's body is recovering very quickly. At this rate, it will definitely be fine to wake up tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Chu Xia quickly thanked you, thank you. Are you? Director Sun looked her up and down. Xiao Zhou's wife. Yes, I am his wife. Chu Xia nodded. I never knew about my husband's injury before. Otherwise, I would have come to take care of him. Very good. In principle, it would be better to have you by his side. Originally, I made this suggestion, but his father refused, saying that your current situation is not suitable for that. It seems that they underestimate you. Director Sun smiled warmly at her. You can control your emotions so well, they really underestimate you. Thank you for the compliment. As soon as Chu Xia finished her words, she heard rapid footsteps outside, and then, there was a gentle knock on the ward door. It must be my parents. Chu Xia looked at Director Sun inquiringly. Okay. How many people are allowed in at the same time? It's okay. As long as there are no more than 10 people, there will be no problem. Director Sun smiled. I said, the patient's body has recovered very well. The reason why there can't be more than 10 people is because no matter how many people there are, it won't be possible to squeeze them in, and it won't be suitable. Right? The doctor had spoken like this. Jo Hanliang would no longer wait foolishly for Chu Xia to take action. He walked to the door and opened the door of the ward. Zhao Yulan and Lin Bao he stretched their heads in first, with nervous and hesitant expressions on their faces. Jo Hanliang said quickly, Uncle, Aunt, come in. The doctor said it's fine. Zhao Yulan and Lin Bao he hurried to the bedside, looking at her and asking anxiously, Xia, what's wrong with Xiaomi? Father, Mother, don't worry. He's fine. He's just lazy right now. He'll definitely wake up in 2 days. Chu Xia said as she introduced Director Sun, who was standing aside with a smile. This is Jo Mikang's the attending doctor. If Dad and Mom don't believe what I say, you can ask Director Sun directly. Yes, the patient will wake up in the next 2 days, and there will be no sequelae after waking up. I have been monitoring the patient's condition in the past few days, and my conclusion is still confident. That's good, that's good. Lin Bao he said as he stepped forward and held Director Sun's hand tightly. Director, please worry about it. My son-in-law is a good man, but nothing can happen to him thing. Dad. Chu Xia looked at her father helplessly, not knowing what to say. I can understand, I can all understand. Director Sun smiled at her, your father loves you. Of course, he also loves your husband. You have to be considerate of his heart. Lin Bao he quickly answered, Director Sun, you are really amazing. I feel equally sorry for my daughter and son-in-law, but my daughter is not as capable as my son-in-law. I must think more about her. Dad. Chu Xia protested unconvinced, why am I not as good as him? My family background is different and my growing environment is different. It is normal for me to be inferior to him, but this does not mean that I am not as good as him originally. Okay, you and Xiaomi are both great, both are great. Dad was wrong. Dad was wrong. Chu Xia. Dad, who can't see your perfunctory attitude? Director Sun smiled happily, very good. The more harmonious the relationship between family members is, the better the patient's recovery will be. Then you can stay with him here for a while. If you need anything, come to me in the office. Sorry to trouble you. Chu Xia quickly stood up to see her off, and Director Sun waved to her, don't be so strict. Pregnant women are the oldest now, so just sit there. I'll take it off, Jo Hanliang said as he stepped forward and opened the door of the ward, making a gesture of invitation. Director Sun shook his head in a funny way and ducked out of the ward. Do Grandma and Grandpa know? I didn't tell them. Sister Yin secretly told us. We couldn't figure out what was going on, so we didn't dare to tell our grandparents. But according to the current situation, telling them would make them feel more at ease. Sigh. Zhao Yulan sighed heavily. You don't know how worried they are during this period, but they don't dare to show it in front of you. Usually when you are not around, the old couple would sigh while talking. I can tell. Chu Xia shrugged helplessly, but I don't know the situation, and I don't dare to comfort them casually. Fortunately, it is now confirmed that my original guess is still reliable. Is Political Commissar Xiao Zhou coming back temporarily? Lin Baohe looked at Zhou Hanliang and asked doubtfully. We have returned to City A. I came here specifically to visit the teacher, Zhou Hanliang said with a wry smile, otherwise, I wouldn't have met my sister-in-law. Then Qi Liang is back too? Zhao Yulan asked quickly. Chu Xia secretly took a selfie and patted her head. Why didn't she think of asking about it? Alas, it was this guy lying on the bed that made her lose her normal thinking. Qi Liang is back. He's fine. Don't worry. After a pause, Zhou Hanliang added, by the way, I should tell you the good news again. When I come back this time, Qi Liang has been promoted and is already a platoon leader. Really? Zhao Yulan shouted in surprise, her eyes filled with worry again. Is he also injured? No, he performed very well in the mission, so he was promoted when he came back this time. Of course, these were decided by the division commander before. I submitted the promotion list as soon as I came back. I guess today the approval has been received, and I can tell you the good news in advance. Zhao Yulan happily slapped her thigh. It's great. My eldest brother and sister-in-law will definitely be happy to know this. Now, I can marry Xiaoxian home in a down-to-earth manner. Originally, the couple had been worried that Qi Liang was not as good as Xiaoxian. Qiang's development is good, but it's not worthy of Xiaoxian. Mom, do your legs hurt? The crisp sound of my mother's slap made her legs tremble unconsciously. This child. Zhao Yulan looked at her daughter helplessly and smiled. Mom, aren't you happy? Although Xiaomi was injured, she will recover soon. Maybe she can still watch the baby being born. This is beyond our ability. The original expectations are worth being happy about, right? Your eldest brother has been promoted, and your uncle and aunt can go to the Luo family to propose marriage. Maybe the marriage can be arranged this year. Is it worth being happy? It's worth being happy, it's worth being happy. Chu Xia smiled and glanced at my mother's thighs. If there were so many things to be happy about, would my mother's thighs be swollen? My parents-in-law, my mother-in-law, are you here too? Zhou Jingping opened the door and came in. When he saw Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe, his eyes were filled with guilt. I'm sorry, I did something wrong to make you worry. Brother, don't say that. We all understand that you are also worried about Chu Xia's health. In fact, we all have the same thoughts. However, this child is quite surprising, haha. Yeah. Zhou Jingping looked at Chu Xia with admiration. This child always surprises us. If this continues, I won't be surprised by what achievements she will make. Not to mention anything else, just ask the old man. No matter how many people begged him, they couldn't get anything from him. It's good that this child has become an adult's apprentice directly. When her grandfather heard the news, he was so happy that he would marry anyone he met. Showing off, the result is good. Now many elders are scared to hide away when they see our old man. Chu Xia deliberately put on a bitter face. Dad, according to you, won't this affect everyone's stability and unity? It's okay, we're not afraid of this kind of influence. Zhou Jingping said as he walked to the bed and slapped Zhou Mikang's leg. Young man, you have good sense. Wake up quickly, otherwise, your wife has been snatched away, and you have no place to cry. Everyone. This is what my father said. This kid can't help but scare him. If he is so shocked, he might wake up in a hurry. Zhou Jingping couldn't help but sigh, this kind of scene will not happen to him once. I hope this is the last time. The smile on Chu Xia's face faded unconsciously. As far as she knew about the historical trajectory, this was just the beginning. I hope this is really the last time. What are you doing, Dad? When she looked up and saw her dad leaving the ward, Chu Xia looked at Zhao Yulan and asked, "Are you going to inform Grandma and Grandpa?" Zhao Yulan nodded, "Yes, the two old men have been worried about Xiaomi's safety. Let them come and see it in person before they can rest assured." R1152. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 914. Second update. Political Commissar Zhou, could you please go to the ward downstairs to stay with Grandpa Wan for a while? Chu Xia looked at Zhou Hanliang. Dad just said that the Qian family might be unfavorable to Grandpa Wan, and I'm not worried about leaving these old people there. Okay, I'll go there. Zhou Hanliang quickly chased Lin Baohe out of the ward. Zhou Jingping glanced at the time and said, "The people protecting you, Grandpa Wan, will be here in half an hour. I will go down soon. Don't worry, Dad is here and nothing will happen to him." Chu Xia smiled sheepishly, "Dad, it's not that I don't believe you, or I'm worried because of my conditioned reflex. Grandpa Wan has always treated me as his granddaughter. This is my instinctive reaction." Zhou Jingping smiled helplessly, "You kid, do you and I still need to explain like this?" Then he patted his son who was lying quietly on the bed. "Xiaomi, wake up quickly, it's all your fault." Unqualified, otherwise why would Xia still not regard Dad as a relative? Dad? Haha. Zhou Jingping laughed, "Xia, don't get me wrong, Dad doesn't blame you. The responsibility for this matter lies with Xiaomi. He is always away from home. Otherwise, you wouldn't be so estranged from Dad. Yes or no? There is no distance." Chu Xia had no choice but to explain, "I really feel that I am a member of the Zhou family. The explanation is just an instinctive reaction. Even if my father and mother ask, I will explain it." Yes, in-laws, Xia really regards herself as a member of the Zhou family now. Zhao Yulan also rushed to defend her daughter. Now that she is married and has a child, how can she not regard herself as a member of the Zhou family? "In-laws, don't worry." Zhou Jingping said quickly, "I didn't mean that, I was just joking. This guy Xiaomi is lying on the bed and hiding. We can't just let him hide, can we?" "Yes." Zhao Yulan smiled and pushed Zhou Mixang, "Xiaomi, if you really feel sorry for our Xia, you should wake up early. Otherwise, she won't know how to get along with her husband's family." Zhou Jingping. Is his explanation just now in vain? After a while, Mr. Zhao and Mrs. Zhao came over with Lin Baohe. When they saw the motionless teacher Zhangzi lying on the bed, the two old men had red circles in their eyes. During this time, they were worried about him. Although they didn't stay with this grandson-in-law for a long time, they had lived a long life and had met a lot of people, so they still had a good eye for seeing people. The grandson-in-law really cherishes his granddaughter. If he suddenly stops calling her, something must have happened. They sit in the living room every day, rushing to answer the call whenever it comes, just hoping to hear it. His voice. Unexpectedly, the scene they least expected to see happened. Baohe said that Xiaomi will wake up soon and nothing will happen to her. "Is it true?" Mr. Zhao asked in a trembling voice. Mrs. Zhao also looked at Zhou Jingping eagerly, her eyes full of expectation and apprehension. "Uncle Zhao, Aunt Zhao, what Baohe said is true. Don't worry, Xiaomi is fine. She was transferred to Beijing Medical University just to help him recover faster and better. Director Sun is an expert in this area. He has checked all aspects and concluded that he will definitely wake up in 2 or 3 days, and there will definitely be no sequelae in the future. I didn't inform you before, not because I didn't believe it, but because I didn't want you to worry. The matter has already happened. Whether you are worried or not, the result will be the same. If Xia finds out, the consequences will be even more disastrous. But after explaining this, Zhou Jingping realized that the reason for his original worry did not exist at all, and smiled sheepishly. It's just that we underestimated Chu Xia. Speaking of it, it is indeed what we did wrong. Yes, it's really what you did wrong. Mr. Zhao looked at Zhou Jingping seriously. Even if you are worried that Xia doesn't want her to know, you should tell us. You underestimate us too much. Whether it's me, your Aunt Zhao, or Baohi Magnolia, although we are all ordinary people, we have experienced many storms. If you can't control even such a little emotion, then your past sins are nothing. It was all in vain. Grandpa, you underestimate me. Chu Xia curled her lips dissatisfied. You all underestimate me. You were so secretive before that you didn't dare to say it. You thought I didn't notice it? I just don't think I can explain it to you, so I didn't expose you. Anyway, as elders, don't blame anyone. You all look down on me, no matter who you are. Yes, yes. Mrs. Zhao quickly admitted her mistake. Grandma apologized to Xia, but if Grandma finds out in the future, she will never look down on our Xia again. Yes, absolutely, Mr. Zhao also said, we used to look at people through the cracks in the door. If you look at us through the cracks in the door in the future, we will definitely not be angry. Chu Xia looked at her grandfather speechlessly. Are you trying another way to make me be more generous and stop exposing my shortcomings? Xia, you are so smart. Mr. Zhao smiled and gave Chu Xia a thumbs up. Let's turn this page over and trust you absolutely from now on, okay? Okay, don't doubt me again in the future. You can't hide anything from me. Chu Xia looked at the elders seriously. I'm not joking. I promise that I will never hide anything I let you know from you in the future. Zhou Jingping was the first to make a promise. Mr. Zhao quickly answered, I also promise that I will definitely trust Xia in the future and never doubt Xia again. I will tell Xia everything. When I am undecided, I will let Xia help me make up my mind. Why did you tell me everything? Mrs. Zhao rolled her eyes at her old man and said, Xia, I am the same as your grandpa. If you don't believe your grandpa, you have to believe grandma. Old lady, can we stop sowing discord? Mr. Zhao glared at the old lady dissatisfied. Why am I not as trustworthy as you? When have I ever lied to my children? When Xia was 5 years old, you said you would go up to the mountain to hunt wild rabbits for her. As a result, you shot a mouse back. As a result, the child still regarded the mouse as a rabbit until she was 9 years old. When Xia was 9 years old, you said you were going to stew fish soup for Xia Lao, but no fish was caught. You brought back some loaches to fool her, which made the child not drink fish soup for several years because she thought it was earthy taste. When Xia was 12 years old. Okay, okay. Mr. Zhao quickly interrupted the old lady. This happened many years ago, can you not mention it? Besides, I don't want to lie to the children. It was a good idea, but the result no rabbits, no fish. If you want to say that, what about you, haven't you ever lied to Xia? When Xia was 4 years old, you promised to go to the market to buy apples for Xia to eat, but instead of buying apples, you bought pears instead, so you lied to Xia and said they were apples. When the child was 8 years old, you still couldn't tell the difference between apples and pears. When Xia was 7 years old, she took a fancy to the flowered gown worn by Louis in our village. You lied to Xia and said that it made her whole body itchy when she put it on, and only the one without flowers would stop itching. As a result, the child was 12 or 13 years old. I don't dare to wear flowery clothes yet. Okay, okay, can we not expose this old scar? I looked all over the store and couldn't buy any apples, but Xia is determined to eat apples again. What can I do? It's not like you don't know Xia's character. If she can't get the food she's looking for, she'll cry all the time. If I didn't feel sorry for the child, could I lie to her? That flower gown, if we can afford it, can I lie to my children? That's true. The old man sighed with emotion. Life was too hard at that time. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to lie to our children like this. By the way, why did we bring up the topic here? The old lady scratched her head and glared at the old man. It's you who doesn't believe Xia Xin, and I don't believe you. When did Xia believe you or not me? The old man suddenly remembered. No, the main reason is that you provoke Xia to listen to you instead of me. Otherwise, could I refute you? Seeing that the old couple was about to start a new round, Chu Xia couldn't help laughing. Grandma, Grandpa, are you afraid that we will be bored, and are you deliberately making trouble to make us happy? Damn old man, it's all you who made me lose face even to my in-laws. Old Mrs. Zhao glared at the old man and smiled sheepishly at Zhou Jingping. As you get older, you tend to get confused, and when you get confused, it's easy to quarrel. In-laws, please be considerate. Zhou Jingping laughed and said, Aunt Zhao, you're out of touch now. This shows that you two have a good relationship. I'm only very happy, so how can you be considerate or inconsiderate? Chu Xia. Qian Yan opened the door and called softly inside. Chu Xia hurried over to greet her. What's wrong? Is the Qian family here? Qian Yan shook her head. No, I just want to ask you if you can help arrange for someone to take care of my mother tomorrow. Okay, Chu Xia agreed without thinking. Just go and do your own thing. I want to go to my grandpa's house to explain the situation first, and then bring my brother over. The one my mother wants to see most right now is probably my brother. No matter how likely it is, I have to work hard. If I miss this opportunity, I will be in trouble in the future. It's even harder for my mother to see my brother. Okay, go ahead. Chu Xia hugged her and patted her gently. Grandpa Wan and Aunt Wan, we will take good care of them, don't worry. Thank you. Qian Yan smiled gratefully at her. Originally, I misunderstood that you had a purpose in recognizing my grandpa as my godfather. Now, you help me regardless of past grudges. It really makes me feel ashamed. But I have no other way. I can't find anyone to help me now. Originally, I wanted Grandma Chi to take care of her for me, but since she is so old, I am really embarrassed to open my mouth. Chu Xia, don't worry, I will definitely repay you in the future. Okay, why are you saying these kind words to me? Chu Xia pushed her. Go and do your work. Leave it to me. I'll be down in a moment. Waving her hand, Qian Yan quickly ran downstairs. She also thought of her grandparents' attitude. She didn't want them to cause trouble in the hospital, so she had to convince them in advance. R1152. First marriage then love. Mr. Mayor, please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan. Chapter 915. 1 Update. Xiao Yan wants to go find the Qian family. After Qian Yan left, Zhao Yulan walked up to her daughter and asked, isn't she not welcomed by the Qian family? It's probably useless to go at this time, right? Whether it works or not, we have to let her work hard, otherwise she will feel uncomfortable. Moreover, after this time, how she wants to get along with the Qian family needs to be re-evaluated. Hey, Zhao Yulan sighed, speaking of which, this child is quite pitiful. She has not been treated well by her grandparents since she was a child, and her father does not love her. She is only loved by her mother. She cannot give her heart yet, and now something like this happened. Hey. Mom, you don't think of me when I was a child again, do you? Seeing her mother shed tears as she spoke, Chu Xia suddenly guessed the reason. I am different from her. Mother, how many times have I told you? Why are you still trying to get into trouble here? No, Mom just feels sorry for you. She hurt your health when you were a child. Xia, you listen to mom and you must take good care of your body. Mom knows that you can't sit idle, but your health is really bad. Mom is always on tenterhooks these days, for fear that something will happen to you. Mom also knows that she can't bear to advise you to stay at home all day long, but you have to pay more attention. You don't know how to slow down when you go up and down the stairs, and you rush when you walk. It's been 6 months, and you can't be like this anymore. Whether it's for yourself, your children, or us elders, listen. Damn, are you okay? I dare you to pretend that your mother is so happy that she lets you go to school? Chu Xia sighed helplessly. If it wasn't a close relative, who would be like this all day long? Although she said someone was protecting her at school, how could her parents really feel relieved? Mom, don't worry, I will definitely take care of myself and take care of myself. Chu Xia hugged Zhao Yulan's arm and shook it coquettishly. Mom, you have to believe me. I believe you, but I feel panic when I believe you. Zhao Yulan told the truth, and glanced at Zhou Jingping with a wry smile. In-laws, it's because we didn't educate our children well, I'm sorry. No. No, Zhou Jingping, who had been straining his ears to listen to what the two mothers said about this, quickly waved his hands. Chu Xia has a very good personality, and we all like her. I like it very much, but also worried about it, right? This child is disobedient, his body is so heavy, and he runs to school all day long and doesn't listen to what he says. How can he act like a mother? My children are bored at home all day long. In fact, it's good to go to school for a walk. You can learn something and relax at the same time. Anyway, if there are people protecting the children around them, and if they are careful, everything will basically be fine. Zhao Yulan sighed again, but who dares to vouch for this? But what you said is the truth. Xia's character is still like this. Let her stay at home. She can probably suppress her troubles, but she can't go out. But I can't help but worry about her. Well, that's how parents are, always worrying about this and that, and the children don't appreciate it. It's right for parents to worry. If your children don't appreciate things, they haven't reached that age yet. Once you have experienced such things, you will be able to understand them. You are so considerate of our Xia, she is really lucky. Her father and I have always been worried that she would be so willful that she would bore her husband's family. Now it seems that we have really thought too much. Not bored, we all like Xia's character. In an instant, Chu Xia understood the reason why her mother suddenly acted like this. If she hadn't tried so hard to hold it in, she would have left. Looking at her honest mother, she was quite thoughtful. Zhou Hanliang told her before that Zhou Jingping would definitely not let her go to school without worry, so her mother immediately did this in front of Zhou Jingping. She was clearly forcing Zhou Jingping to express her position and not force her to leave the campus. Well, the problem she was still worried about was solved by her mother. It seems that her understanding of her mother and father will be refreshed in the future. In early summer, let's go home to eat. After eating, take a good rest at noon. If there is class in the afternoon, go to school. If there is no class, rest at home. Come and see Xiaomi tomorrow when you have time. Someone was still enjoying his beauty, but his father-in-law ordered him to be kicked out. Her father-in-law had already compromised, and it would be pointless for her to continue to be stubborn, so she readily agreed and followed Zhao Yulan and Lin Baohe home. Anyway, her father-in-law took care of Zhou Mixang, so she had nothing to worry about. When she got downstairs, she first went to Wan Yuqiang's ward to take a look. Mr. Wan sat on the bedside and looked at Wan Yuqiang in a daze. Mr. Qi, MRSG and sister-in-law Yin sat side by side against the wall, while Zhou Hanliang stood at the door. After nodding and saying hello to Zhou Hanliang, Chu Xia walked towards Mr. Qi first and whispered, "Master, Zhou Mikang is injured. He is up there. Can you please take a look at him? No, Mr. Chi rejected her request without thinking. Master. Mr. Chi waved his hand. Everyone has their own expertise. If I can cure it better than the other person, I will definitely intervene. If you know that you are not as good as the other person and still come together to show off, it will only make people annoying. Do you want Master to be a person who is hated by others? Of course not. Chu Xia looked at him tangledly. You mean, Director Sun is the most powerful in this regard? Yes, Mr. Chi nodded. I have asked Xiao Zhou just now, and he told me everything about the situation. I don't think it is necessary for me to get involved. Otherwise, I would have gone up just now. I thought after thinking for a moment, he nodded his chin in the direction of Mr. Wan. He doesn't know about this, and he hasn't discovered Xiao Zhou yet. Chu Xia frowned. Did something happen after I went out? Otherwise, Mr. Wan's condition would not have become so bad. Mr. Chi nodded and sighed. Wan Yuqian keeps calling Dekan, and Qianyan said that is her brother's name. No wonder Qianyan wanted to go back to find her brother. It turned out to be like this. Chu Xia sighed, not knowing what to say. As a father, one can imagine how Mr. Wan felt at this time. Her daughter married an unlucky man and had to separate her flesh and blood. Not only did her father fail to help her, but he also misunderstood her. Even if he figured it out, whenever he encountered a tangled point, self-blame would follow. Mr. Wan's mood will only improve when Wan Yuqian wakes up and improves. As an outsider, I can help in other ways, but I really can't help with this matter. It is conceivable that the child who has been forced to separate from Wan Yuqian has feelings for Wan Yuqian. Even if Qianyan goes to ask the Qian family for permission, will the child be willing to meet his mother? Is still unknown. From this aspect, the Qian family are really bastards. They can even do such immoral things. They still rely on Wan Yuqian to develop. Otherwise, how can they do it? At this time, Qianyan had also arrived at Qian's house. Mr. Qian and Qian Jianming's younger brother Qian Jianfeng had gone to the police station to handle their funeral affairs. Only Mrs. Qian and the second aunt of Qian's family were at home. When Qianyan said hello, Mrs. Qian just nodded indifferently. Second Aunt Qian was quite enthusiastic, but her enthusiasm was obviously hypocritical. Grandma. Qianyan didn't care about beating around the bush and made her request directly. My mother is seriously injured now and I miss my brother very much. I want my brother to go see my mother, okay? What do you think? Old Mrs. Qian raised her eyelids and glanced at her. You don't know the relationship between your mother and this family. Now, she is divorced from your father, and... Close your eyes, the old lady the wife continued. Besides, your father is no longer here, and your mother's relationship with this person has been completely severed. Is it necessary for Dekan to meet her again? I am very, very sad that Dad is gone, but I believe that Dad also hopes that Mom can live happily. Even if Mom and Dad divorce, even if Dad is gone, Dekan is still Mom's biological son. Grandma, I know you have never liked Mom, nor me, but after all, we are also part of the Qian family, and I also have the blood of the Qian family in my body. Please consider our blood ties and be accommodating and allow Dekan to see his mother. Although her mother is not fatally injured, her vitality is severely damaged. If she wants to recover as soon as possible, her mood is very important. The reason why I came here is because my mother is in a coma and still misses her brother. Grandma, you are also a mother. I believe you can understand my mother's mood. Old Mrs. Qian glanced at her unexpectedly. Didn't you hate Dekan before? You think he took away your mother's love from you, and you thought he was an eyesore to you. Otherwise, I wouldn't treat Dekan as such. Kun came to his side. Everything your mother suffered today was all caused by you, so you have no right to blame anyone or demand anything from anyone, understand? Grandma, it was all my fault before, but now I know it, and I hope I can make amends. Please, give me a chance, okay? Qian Yan simply knelt on the ground with a thump. Dong dong dong. I kowtowed 3 times and said, Grandma, you know that this is my taboo. I never kneel and kowtow to anyone. When I used to worship my ancestors, no matter how much you scolded me, I would never do it. Now, Grandma, has you seen my determination? Please grant me my wish. MRSGN snorted coldly. I want to ask you, have you really respected me as a grandma since you were a child? With your attitude since you were a child, why should I help you? Grandma, what exactly do you want me to do before you agree? Qian Yan knelt and took 2 steps forward. As long as you say it, as long as I can do it, I will never be vague. Grandma, my mother has been very kind to you all these years. She is respectful, so just treat her with pity, okay? R1152. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. First Marriage Then Love, Mr. Mayor Please Be Kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 916. Third update, Make Up for Yesterday. Apex novel. Chu Xia also understood now that Zhou Yueping was reluctant to let go of Su Shuxian, which was why he had to do so many things. So, had my mother ever been so entangled? Thinking like this, she wanted to fly to her parents right away. She thought she was so worried before, but her parents didn't know how worried they were in private. After pulling Chu Xia out for a while, Zhou Yueping realized his gaffe and smiled sheepishly. Xia, did my sister-in-law pinch you? No. Chu Xia smiled and shook her head, pointing to Luo Xiaoxian who had been following her but hesitated to speak. Sister-in-law, can you let me go and let me say a few more words to Xiaoxian? Ah, after a moment of surprise, Zhou Yueping nodded quickly. Okay, I'll wait for you at the gate. After Zhou Yueping left, Chu Xia looked at Luo Xiaoxian who looked anxious. Don't worry, there is the most reasonable solution to everything. Remember, give me news as soon as possible. Okay. Luo Xiaoxian swallowed unconsciously. To be honest, when I saw Aunt Zhou like this, I suddenly felt very worried about what my mother would think. Me too. Chu Xia then changed the topic. However, Fat Aunt shouldn't be so entangled. They all know and understand the situation with my uncle. And after you get together with my brother, you won't live with your parents-in-law. She should have nothing to worry about in this regard. Don't worry, even if you really win the bid, the Fat Aunt will only nag you a few words, and it won't really happen. It's your fault. Are you sure? Luo Xiaoxian looked at Chu Xia pitifully. You're not comforting me. Are you? Of course not. You should know better than me the character of your parents. Stop thinking nonsense. Seeing someone coming over, Chu Xia quickly ended the topic. He said goodbye. I'm leaving first, call if you need anything. Okay. After watching Chu Xia leave, Luo Xiaoxian sighed and turned around to walk back. As a result, her vision went dark. She was so frightened that she quickly backed away. When she saw the girl standing there, she frowned. When did you come here? What bad thing did you do to scare you like this? The girl looked at her. He curled his lips and said, don't be a villain, I just happened to get here. You. Just as he was about to get angry, Luo Xiaoxian controlled herself again, smiled lightly at the other person, and walked away. I didn't expect Luo Xiaoxian to pull this trick. Li Jiawei was stunned for a long time, then stamped her feet and turned back. She really wanted to pick up a few missing sentences just now, but unfortunately, she didn't pick up anything. None of them liked Luo Xiaoxian, an airborne soldier. They were obviously about the same age, so why did she snatch the seat they had been coveting for a long time as soon as she arrived? It's not like I haven't filed a lawsuit before, but the result, is of course fruitless. Luo Xiaoxian returned to Dean Su's office. I've told you what happened just now, here it is. Everything between her and Dean Su is closely related, so she will not hide any trouble. Xiaoxian. Dean Su looked at her seriously. If you come here with me, you may get more than you can by working hard on your own, but you will also suffer more for your efforts. Your position does make many people jealous, but don't worry about it, you just need to work hard and do your best. One day, they will know how wrong they are. I understand. Luo Xiaoxian nodded vigorously. I will use all my energy on business and won't embarrass you, don't worry. Okay, go and do your work. Dean Su waved his hand to her and continued to work on the work at hand. When Chu Xia arrived at the gate, Zhou Yueping looked at her with a smile. I asked Xiao Meng to go back first. Let's go to my sister-in-law's house for dinner today, okay? Okay, Chu Xia agreed happily. It was a rare opportunity for someone to ask her for help. She had nothing to be pretentious about. Although she was anxious to go home to see her parents, she still had to worry about the mood of her husband's family, right? Zhou Yueping's family lives in Shivei district, half an hour away from the Zhou family's ancestral home. When the two of them arrived home, Su Yan was already at home. When he saw Chu Xia, he blushed unconsciously and said, "Sister-in-law, third sister-in-law," he said in a soft voice. He said hello and hid back in the room. This kid. Zhou Yueping frowned dissatisfied. How many times have I told you that he is so shy? How good would it be if he and his sister changed their personalities? Mom, do you dislike Xiao Yan again? Su Shuxian came in and happened to hear Zhou Yueping's words, so she smiled and joked, "You are nagging like this every day, don't you find it annoying?" "Hey, sister-in-law, you are here? You are such a rare visitor, there was no time to change shoes." Su Shuxian ran to Chu Xia and looked her up and down. "You haven't gained weight after raising her for so long. Sister-in-law, you have to eat more. You are a bit more mellow. You seem to be in the best mood and have a good appetite. Third sister-in-law, you can see that I'm getting fat, right?" Su Shuxian sat down on the sofa. "It's my mother who always forces me to eat. No, I gained 4 pounds in a month. The clothes I wore before were too tight. If I didn't force you to eat, how could you be so healthy now?" Zhou Yueping glared at his daughter. "Some people who were so sick some time ago were almost like Lin Daiyu, and they are still here. Shuxian was sick some time ago." Chu Xia frowned slightly, looked at Su Shuxian for a few times, and then breathed a sigh of relief, "But now she looks very good." "Ha ha." Su Shuxian laughed twice, but did not answer. Zhou Yueping winked at Chu Xia. "Can I go to your room and take a look?" "Okay." Su Shuxian responded immediately, and affectionately took Chu Xia to her room. After closing the door, she put her ear to the door and listened for a while, then smiled playfully at Chu Xia. "Third sister-in-law, isn't my mother recruited you as a lobbyist?" "Yeah, she's a little worried about you," Chu Xia admitted frankly. "She also has good intentions. Of course, if you want to tell me, just tell me. If you don't want to tell me, I won't blame you. Besides, it's been so long we haven't met, but I do miss you. It's not that I don't want to tell my mother, it's that she simply can't stand it anymore and gets impatient easily." "How could I dare to tell her the truth?" Su Shuxian sighed. "My illness some time ago was indeed related to feelings. However, it has been resolved now, and we have made an agreement that when we have conflicts in the future, we must first reflect on ourselves, and then we can quickly forgive each other." "Is it John Kaibo?" Chu Xia asked. "Did my mother tell you?" Su Shuxian shook her head helplessly. "She must have seen me always being with John Kaibo and thought that John Kaibo and I were getting along. She also didn't think about it. John Kaibo has been under my control since he was a child. How could he possibly date me? John Kaibo and I are basically sisters. If the two sisters can talk to each other, wouldn't it be a problem?" I understand, you are always with John Kaibo, but you actually use him as a smoke bomb, right? Third sister-in-law, you are so smart. Su Shuxian gave her a thumbs up, indeed, but our relationship has been confirmed recently, and I also plan to have a showdown with my parents. Since my mother asked the third sister-in-law to help, I will tell the third sister-in-law first and ask the third sister-in-law to help me convey the message later, so that my mother can make mental preparations first, otherwise, she will definitely bite me to death. Chu Xia immediately grasped the key point. What do you like is the child of a family that my sister-in-law hates. Yes, Su Shuxian bit her lip and looked at Chu Xia with a bit of guilt in her eyes. To be precise, the boy I like has a relationship with the Zhou family. Chu Xia didn't answer. After all, she was not a real member of the Zhou family, and she didn't know much about the Zhou family's past. His name is Song Chao, his brother. Biting her lip, Su Shuxian continued, his brother once participated in the case of kidnapping sisters Iareo, but at that time, he was only 10 years old, and it really had nothing to do with him. Of Shuxian. Sighing, Chu Xia looked at her. This matter will be an eternal scar on the hearts of the Zhou family. I'm sorry that I can't help you. Also, you can tell your sister-in-law about this matter yourself, and I will convey it to you. Inappropriate. She stood up and smiled at the other party. Don't get me wrong, I'm not angry, I just don't know how to deal with myself, you know, I am an outsider after all. Third sister-in-law. Su Shuxian grabbed her, tears welling up in her eyes. If you don't help me, Song Chao and I will have no choice but to break up. In fact, I struggled for a long time, but I really couldn't let go. Otherwise, I wouldn't have turned myself into Lin Daiyu. He was only 15 years old when his eldest brother committed the crime. Moreover, when their family knew that his eldest brother was in trouble, his eldest brother had not been home for 2 years. Because of his eldest brother, their family's life suddenly fell into a desperate situation. He worked particularly hard. When he was in school, he was the hardest working one in the class. At that time, I also hated him and regarded him as an enemy. I always dragged John Kaibo to bully him. Later, John Kaibo became friends with him. Later, with John Kaibo's persuasion, I also became friends with him. But, at that time, I never thought that one day I would have feelings for him. After a pause, Su Shuxian continued, during the Chinese New Year this year, our old classmates got together, and no one except me and John Kaibo paid attention to him. However, he was not annoyed at all, he just sat there quietly and watched us chatting. At that moment, I suddenly felt something different about him. He is a capable man. As long as he is given a chance, he will be no worse than anyone else. In fact, he has confirmed this. He has achieved the position of workshop director without anyone's help. Of course, I don't like him just because he became the workshop director. I mean, he works very hard. I like people who work hard, so I am willing to be with him and fight with him. Although what Su Shuxian said was a bit incoherent, Chu Xia understood what she meant. Rather than saying that she loved Song Chao, it would be more accurate to say that she sympathized with Song Chao. But now, without seeing her in person, it was hard for her to express any opinions, so she remained silent. To be continued. First marriage then love, Mr. Mayor please be kind. Author, Zhao Nuan Nuan. Chapter 917. Third update. Looking at the boy standing next to Qian Yan, Mr. Wan looked in disbelief. He didn't expect that his granddaughter could really bring his grandson here, and this child looked so much like a daughter. Deacon, this is Grandpa, Qian Yan said as she gave her brother a gentle push. Qian Deacon stepped forward and took Mr. Wan's hand affectionately. Hello, Grandpa, I am Deacon. I am yours grandson. I know. Mr. Wan nodded excitedly. He didn't expect that his grandson would have such a good personality. Originally, he was worried that the little guy would not be willing to visit his daughter after not being with him for so many years. Now it seems that his worries are really unnecessary. Dad. A faint call came from the ward. Mr. Wang quickly came to his senses and pulled his grandson inside. Your mother is already awake and has been waiting for you to come. Grandpa looks confused. Qian Yan, who was following behind, stroked her forehead speechlessly. Is this because she favors boys over girls, or is it because she is already familiar with her? Why just leave her alone? Wan Yuqian has been awake for a while. Mr. Wan was afraid that his granddaughter would not be able to find his grandson, so he did not dare to tell her what his granddaughter was doing. Therefore, when he saw Qiandikan suddenly appear, Wan Yuqian, my first reaction was that I was dazzled, and my second reaction was that I was still dreaming. Mom, De-kun is really here. Seeing Wan Yuqian blinking and twisting her thighs, Qian Yan hurried forward. I went to bring De-kun here. De-kun. Wan Yuqian's hand trembled and she reached forward to touch her son's head, but she stopped weakly. She was afraid that when she touched her son's head, she would find that it was all a dream. Mom, it's me. Qiandikan took the initiative to put Wan Yuqian's hand on his face. It's my sister who brought me to see my mother. Mom, I'll stay with you here, okay? Okay, of course. Wan Yuqian gently stroked her son's cheek, feeling very sad when she saw that his childish look was about to fade away. The last time I saw my son, he looked like a little kid. Now, he is a standard teenager. In 2 or 3 years, he will be a standard young man. As a mother, she is really unqualified. She cannot see her son once a year. No matter what the reason is, she herself is responsible. After. Yan, how is your father? Wan Yuqian looked at her daughter. She asked her father when she woke up, and her father told her that her daughter had gone to her husband's place. Now, her daughter has brought her son over, so her husband, it should be fine, right? Otherwise, De-kun wouldn't be allowed to come over, right? Qian Yan looked at Mr. Wan. She didn't know what her grandfather told her mother. She didn't know whether to tell her mother the truth now. For a moment, she didn't know how to speak. Dad has gone to heaven. It was Qiandikan who spoke. He looked at Wan Yuqian with sad eyes. From now on, my sister and I will only have our mother. There was a boom in Wan Yuqian's head. She thought that something would happen to her husband, but she thought the worst possibility was that her husband was seriously injured, even more serious than her. But she didn't expect that Yao Xingqing would do this. So cruel. She now understands why her daughter went to find her son. If her son was not here now to keep her sane, she would probably be forced to leave the hospital to see her husband for the last time. After all, the couple who had been married for more than 20 years had their best days in the past. Even now, their love has never been exhausted. Moreover, his death was still due to his persistence in her. Wan Yuqian looked at her daughter, who is dealing with Qian Jianming's matter now. Grandpa and second uncle. After a pause, Qian Yan said, I took De-kun out while they were not around. It was Bai Bei who helped. Otherwise, there is no way I can bring De-kun out. Wan Yuqian was slightly startled. Is your grandma at home? Well, grandma is at home. Now grandpa and second uncle are just going to go through the formalities. What's next? She really didn't want to say the word funeral, so she stayed there for a long time before saying, everything that follows has not started yet. Dad, how long does the doctor say it will take for me to get out of bed? Wan Yuqian looked at Mr. Wan. You must tell me the truth. I hope that I can see Ming for the last time. No matter how many things he did to regret me, at least in the end, he still thought of me well, and it was because of him that I had such a good daughter and son. So Dad, I have to go see him off. You must promise me not to be angry with me, okay? It will take at least 5 days for you to get out of bed. Mr. Wan sighed helplessly. Dad is quite happy that you can be so affectionate. It will depend on the situation at that time. As long as the doctor agrees, you can go, Dad. I will never stop you. Thank you, Dad. Won Yukian thanked her father gratefully, and then looked at her son. Dekan, you can go home soon. Mom misses you very much, but at this moment, your dad's affairs are too important. I can't live without you. You are your father's only son. There are some things that you must do. If your grandfather and second uncle don't let you participate, you go to your grandma and ask her to help you. Mom, I want to stay with you. Chiendakan hugged Won Yukian's arm tightly with a look of reluctance. If I go back, my grandparents will definitely not let me out again. I want to see you again in the future. It's difficult for Mom. Mom, I don't want to go back, I want to live with you in the future. Mom is reluctant to let you leave. If possible, Mom would never want to be separated from you. For many years, Mom has been looking forward to living with you every day. However, even if you have to do that, Mother must fight for you openly, otherwise, they will not let it go. Dekan, you believe Mother. In the past, it was my mother who was too cowardly that separated our mother and son for so many years. This time, my mother will never swallow her anger again. You are my son, and you should live with her. If they don't let you go, Mom will file a lawsuit with them, but now, you can't just leave. No matter how wrong your dad is, he is your biological father. Moreover, he has always attached great importance to you. If you can't send him off for the last time, you will regret it one day. Mom would rather make yourself uncomfortable now than make you uncomfortable in the future. I will help you fight for Dekan's custody. Mr. Won looked at his daughter seriously. It's just that I didn't know before. If Dad doesn't intervene now, he will be really useless. Don't worry, they're Chien family no matter what, as long as we fight for it, Dekan will definitely come back to you. Thank you, Dad. Won Yukian looked at her father with an annoyed look on her face. I really regret the decision I made before. I was really stupid. It's good to know now. You can no longer make your own decisions in the future. Since we are a family, you also know Dad's character. Those who can help will definitely do it. Those who violate the principles will not do anything. Therefore, Dad will definitely, there won't be any difficulty. Look at what you were like before. You have suffered for so many years, and your father has been living an uncomfortable life. As a result, today, you have gained nothing and only regretted it. It's not worth it, is it? Yes. Won Yukian nodded and looked at her daughter. Yan, thank you, Mom. Mom never thought that you could be so strong. You are really my mother's pride. Qian Yan smiled sheepishly. I am already over 20 years old, so I should be strong. Lin Chuxia is younger than me, but she can take on anything. In order to prevent Grandpa from disliking me, you have to work hard. You kid. Mr. Wan shook his head in amusement and turned to look at Chiendakan. Dekan, you also have a sister Chuxia, who is Grandpa's adopted granddaughter. She is very smart. You will definitely like her. Qian Yan quickly answered, the main reason is that she is good looking. Don't all boys like good looking girls? Dekan, you will definitely dislike your sister and me when you see her. A boy who is in the period of puberty can't stand everyone making such a joke, and his face turns red instantly. Sister, don't talk nonsense, I'm not that kind of person. If you say that again, I'll ignore you. Okay, if you don't say it, don't say it. Qian Yan smiled and rubbed his head. Little one, why are you so anxious? She is your sister, what's wrong with you liking her? Is that what you mean? Chiendakan glared at her unconvinced. You just said that I would like good-looking girls, but you didn't say that I would like good-looking sisters. Isn't that the same? Qian Yan spread her hands. Sister is also a girl, you are so thin-skinned. Seeing her brother's face turning even redder, Qian Yan said quickly, okay, Okay, I won't tease you anymore. You and mom talk for a while longer, and I'll take you back. Wan Yukian, who had been smiling at the bickering between the siblings, smiled. I have been looking forward to this day for so many years. I never expected that it would come true today, but in a place like this, with so many things happening. In the future, if your father. She bit her lip, and after a long while, she said, okay, let's not talk about it anymore. It's your father who is unlucky, and he can't blame others. Qian Yan stayed until 4 o'clock in the afternoon before sending Qiandikan back. After so many years of living apart from his mother and sister, Qiandikan has adapted to it. Therefore, although he is a little reluctant to give up, he knows that this is what he must do, and he does not hesitate. Dad. After Mr. Wan sent the siblings back, Wan Yukian looked at him with a confused look. Can you ask the doctor to think of a way to get me out of bed tomorrow? Do you think you are a gecko or an earthworm? Mr. Wan glared at her. If you act like this again, don't blame me for going back on what I promised you just now. 11:52.